2 balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Welcome up, Chris Taylor.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by Matt Moreno. Matt, today we're talking Dodgers bullpen, and I guess we'll start with the surprising news based on conversations you and I had. Joe Kelly officially gone, signs a 2-year, $17 million contract with the Chicago White Sox. I believe there's a team option in year number 3. So Joe Kelly, a guy you and I both thought would be back, is gone. Are you surprised?
Definitely surprised. When the initial report came out, I had to read it twice just to make sure that I was seeing correctly that he was signing with the White Sox, because for me, at least, it was a foregone conclusion that he would that he would be back. You know, Andrew Friedman, as much as the Dodgers decided to pay a buyout rather than exercise a $12 million team option for this season, Friedman said, we're going to be in the mix to re-sign him. Joe Kelly recently said, I want to be back. So it seemed like both parties wanted the same thing. It was only a matter of time until they sort of ironed out all the details. And then we fast forward, and now here we are to Joe Kelly signing with the White Sox. My guess is perhaps the Dodgers might have been looking at 1 year guaranteed with maybe some sort of option for a second year, or 2 years at not at 17 million. And that's why he ultimately just took, potentially a larger contract. We haven't really seen maybe if the Dodgers really engage with Joe Kelly. But definitely surprised. Yeah,
honestly, $17 million felt like a lot for Joe Kelly. I thought he might sign in the 3-year, like $20 million range. So the fact that he was able to get $8.5 million a year from Chicago, good for him. And I do. I mean, as we are still sitting here and Freddie Freeman hangs in the air while they're trying to figure out what to do with Joe Kelly, I wonder if that impacted things. Like, I wonder if the Dodgers, having to be somewhat conscious of the competitive balance threshold and just where they sat with that I wonder if there are some dominoes that they hadn't waited. They were waiting to see what was going to happen, and Joe Kelly's probably getting pressure from a team like the White Sox. So could it be timing? Possibly. Could it be money? And he came back and the Dodgers said, hey, good for you. We can't match that number. Interesting to see. But the shift now is the Dodger bullpen. Obviously, the question many people are going to ask is, does this mean Kenley Jansen is coming back? My opinion is not necessarily. I think if the Dodgers weren't going to go $8.5 million to Joe Kelly, and if Joe Kelly's getting $217, I would imagine Kenley Jansen's going to be making in the $2 to $220 at least range. He was better than Joe Kelly was last year. He's been dominant for a while. He can close games, which is a valuable trait in Major League Baseball. And so from my perspective, I don't think Kenley Jansen is coming back, which leaves us with the current group of Dodgers. The Dodger pen, as it stands right now, guys that you just pencil in and say they're going to be there: Blake Trinan, Daniel Hudson, Alex Vesia, Brusdar Graterol, Phil Bickford. I would say those 5 guys are set in stone. Then you've got some wild cards: Caleb Ferguson, Tommy Kahnle recovering from injury. I believe the last update we got is maybe not ready for opening day. And then you go down the list. You've got Evan Phillips, who was really good last year and yet has no options. So if the Dodgers keep him, he has to remain at the major league level all year. Justin Brule was really good. Clevenger, Victor Gonzalez, and then some back-end guys, starting pitcher types, where you've got Darian Nunez, who I guess isn't a starter, but a reliever who hasn't made too many appearances, and then Mitch White, Andre Jackson, and David Price, if they remain. So lots of names there, a full 40-man roster. I'll start with you. Before we get into how you feel about this group, do you think this is the state of the Dodger bullpen come opening day?
Oh man, that's tough. I think so. I just it's a deep group already, and so I don't know who. Maybe Kenley Jansen is back, but I didn't really feel too strongly about that anyway. So I think probably the relievers in the organization right now, and a lot of the guys we saw last season, are going to be who make up the bullpen again this year.
So then I'll follow up quickly. How do you feel about that group? Like, is this a top 5 bullpen in baseball?
I think so. You have a blend of veterans and young pitchers, and also there's a ton of versatility across the board. Blake Trinan can close games for you. He's been a closer before. He could also pitch the 8th inning if you need him. Alex Vesia can pitch anywhere from the 5th to the 8th inning as well. Phil Bickford, similar thing. So I think it's definitely a quality group. I will say, as much as I don't think Kenley Jansen is back, it's going to be curious to see how his market sort of unfolds. There hasn't really been much to report on yet. And so if it comes to, hey, Kenley is still out there, the Dodgers could make it work. Maybe they end up re-signing him on something, a contract that maybe Kenley didn't necessarily think he would have to sign. But all it takes, of course, is just one team to say, hey, we want kind of an established closer and we're going to throw some money at you.
Yeah. When I look at this, try to evaluate this group, I look at how it compares to last year. You've got Treinen, who was the best relief pitcher the Dodgers had. He is back. Daniel Hudson, a newcomer, a guy that we were familiar with, and then he went away and now he's back. I mean, I think he's probably a pretty like-for-like trade out with Joe Kelly. As far as just talent level, obviously the Dodgers got that on a little bit more friendly deal. His his pitch mix is different, which is good because his pitching versus Treinen's is going to give you two completely different looks, whereas the one downside to Joe Kelly was that he basically threw, the same two-seamer that Blake Treinen did. So if you've got them back-to-back, guys are getting used to that. I mean, as much as you can get used to 101 miles an hour moving as it did, right? Then you've got guys that you're hoping improve. Vesia, Gratterall. You're hoping those two guys make a jump to sort of offset the loss of a guy like Kenley Jansen. They're not going to fill his shoes, but if Vesia gets 20% better, if Gratterall gets 20% better, you start to fix that. And then Ferguson and Canely. I mean, we've talked before. Ferguson, last we saw him, was one of the best relief pitchers the Dodgers had, if not in all of baseball. Tommy Canely, another high-quality relief pitcher that after a couple years away, you're hoping he can recover and develop into something. And then again, it's the sum of the parts beyond that. Evan Phillips is a guy that I like. Justin Brule pitched well. Clevenger from the left side, very good. Victor Gonzalez, 2 years ago, he was amazing. Last year, he was terrible. So what do you get out of him? And then you've got wild card like Darian Nunez and Mitch White, Andre Jackson, depending on what you do with those types of guys from the starting pitching. So when I see it, the Dodgers had one of the best bullpens in baseball last year. And I know Jansen is gone. Hudson kind of replaces Kelly. So you look at it and say, can Vesia's improvement, can Gratterall's improvement, can Ferguson coming back, can Canely coming back, can those four sort of offset the loss of Kenley Jansen? From my perspective, the answer is absolutely yes. So I still think this remains a very good bullpen. And I'm with you. I don't think the Dodgers make any more moves. I don't think a big deal for Kenley Jansen. Even if it's a 1-year deal, I can't imagine them going over $10 million for Kenley Jansen. And there's got to be a team out there somewhere that's willing to give him that. So we'll see how it plays out. But the headline, Joe Kelly is gone. Matt and I both agreeing. We think this is the Dodger bullpen we'll see come opening day. And don't worry, it's a good one. That's Matt Moreno. My name's Jeff Spiegel. We appreciate you joining us here on Dodger Heads. As always, check out DodgerBlue.com, DodgerBlue1958 on social media, and please ring the notification bell. Click subscribe here. Tell your friends because opening day is just around the corner. We can't wait to be there with you. We'll see you soon.